Hey guys, and welcome to another one of my videos. Today we're gonna have a look at whether Bless Unleashed is really a dead game or is it still kicking. In this video we'll find out if it's still worth playing or do we have to look for a different game. So let's start from the beginning. A lot of people complain that Bless Unleashed is dead simply because they can't run enough dungeons. Now I'm here to tell you that that's not true. What is true, however, is the fact that the low-level dungeons are very rarely queued simply because the majority of the player base are already high level and they've already reached endgame. I've been playing this game for about 6-7 months now, and I can tell you with certainty that if I were to queue for a dungeon like Halls of the Eclipse or Hall of the Dead or any other high-end level dungeon, I wouldn't have to wait more than about 10 minutes to get a group going. Now that's not to be misunderstood with the fact that yes, there are not a lot of people playing this game. If you'd want to run an instance like Red Bastion, which requires 30 people at 3 AM in the night, you definitely won't get that popped. But for normal dungeons like Hall of the Eclipse or Chieftain's Throne Room, unless it's very late during the week and everybody has already gotten their 3-time dungeon chests, then you shouldn't have an issue finding a group to do your dungeons. The next couple of things that people complain about this game are the clunky combat system and the graphics not being great. As you can see from the clips that I chose to use for this video, combat, as a matter of fact, is really interesting. I've played a few other games before playing Bless Unleashed, and I can tell you for sure that I've seen way worse combat systems. Truth be told, I have seen better ones. But we can't really compare a free game like Bless Unleashed with games like Assassin's Creed, which have really complex combat systems. I feel that a lot of the players that still play Bless Unleashed are sticking around simply because of the combat system. Now the graphics, truth be told, yeah, they don't look very great. This, for example, is the footage from Red Basin, and the trees and the grass don't really look that great. But again, most MMORPG players don't particularly play the games just because they have stunning graphics. Next thing that people complain about is new content. Now, content does exist, it's just that most people can't be bothered with the grind. And don't misunderstand, Bless Unleashed is definitely 100% a grindy game. Now, I think it's about time we start focusing on the good bits about the game and not so much about the bad parts. One thing that I really like about this game is the fact that unlike any other games where when you reach endgame and get all your gear and everything sorted out, you can pretty much cleave your way through everything. Not in Bless Unleashed though. The world bosses scale up with your level, which means that every time you level up, your difficulty level increases with it. Which means that no matter how much you optimize your gear, or what kind of class or blessing you're using, there's always going to be a boss or a dungeon or something that's going to pose issues, giving you room for improvement or better optimization for your gear. And yes, while you can solo all the bosses on Lumious, there will always be some of them that give you a hard time, which means that when you do actually kill them, it gives you a great sense of accomplishment. A lot of these bosses are designed so that you have to dodge their particular attacks or you have to use some sort of strategy every time you fight them. As I mentioned before, in most other games, as soon as you reach endgame, you won't bother with a lot of the content that posed issues to you early on. Here, however, practice does help, but there's always a sense of danger and there's always a sense that you can possibly die from a boss's attack at any point, especially if you're not really paying attention. Another thing that Bless Unleashed does very well is making sure that their game is not pay to win. I have seen a lot of people complaining about the fact that they try to take a lot of money from the players, but from what I've seen, most of the things that you buy with actual money, you don't really need. As a matter of fact, anything that you can buy with real money in this game, you can also buy with star seeds. And the things that are supposedly money grabbing are simply just cosmetics and things that you don't really need in order to progress through the game anyway. a lot of the other MMORPGs that I've played have always tried to force players into microtransactions. In Bless Unleashed, you can pretty much buy anything with star seeds that you can buy with real money. Let's talk a little bit about how the game engine treats the players. There aren't that many things wrong with it. However, there is room for improvement. It's not like you get stuck into things all the time like I've seen in other games, but you do see bugs and glitches from time to time. The game doesn't really crash very often, and it deals very well with latency issues. Plus, in most dungeons, it does give you a few minutes of leeway in case your game crashes or your internet disappears. For an open world MMORPG, however, it does the job pretty well. As I said before, you will experience some glitches from time to time though. Some of them, like this one, can be pretty funny. And even though the game glitched on me a little bit, the dismount was flawless. Finally, let's talk about the PvP content. PvP in Bless Unleashed is not really mandatory, in the sense that anything that you can do through PvP, you can get other ways too. Getting an ancient weapon, for example, is much easier if you do PvP, but you don't have to. You can just get it through fishing. There is open world PvP, and while you can get killed sometimes, it's not like you actively get hunted every time you get out of a city. Most importantly though, you can start doing PvP at level 28, but what you have to understand is that most instances like 15s or 3s are usually just filled with veteran players, and they will punish you for every mistake that you do, so there's a very steep learning curve if you try to do PvP. And that brings the next point that I wanted to mention in this video. As I mentioned before, PvP is not really for new players, and that's because first of all, you need a separate set of gear just so you can do PvP, and secondly, because it's very hard for you to compete with veteran players that have been doing this for ages. On the bright side, however, I've noticed that gear doesn't play a huge role when you do PvP. What's most important is how you play in PvP. I mean, yes, if you do 3s where there's only 6 players, you easily get focused down just because you don't have great gear and they know they can kill you straight away. But for things like 15s, it's more important to know where you are in relation to the enemy team. You can contribute greatly just by defending a base, or by capturing a base when everybody else is trying to kill each other and they don't really notice you. You can even kill a few people, especially if you gang up with your friends and overpower them. Even the best veteran players have a hard time in a 3v1. So, with that said, it's time to conclude our video for today. Let me know in the comments below if you really think that Bless Unleashed is worth playing. In my humble, biased opinion, I do think that Bless Unleashed is still a great game that you can play. And one thing that makes players stick around, including myself, is the great community that we have here. I think I've listed plenty of reasons why I think that it is worth playing Bless Unleashed even today. So no, I'm not gonna look for a different game just yet, and I do look forward for the next update to see how things change in Bless Unleashed. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and try to be patient with the developers while they optimize the game for console. That's all for today. Enjoy the rest of this clip and take care.